Hi, my name is Pat, and my friends call me Patio. I am your host on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Have you ever gone into a bar and noticed all the different whiskeys and bourbons lined up behind the bar, listening to the bar lights, and wondering what to order, how to order it, and what's their story behind each bottle? Well, this is a show in an American journey for bourbon lovers to discover the many different varieties of bourbons and the stories of the people behind them. Let's learn about the drinks, the food, and the people who make this beautiful brown drink an American favorite. Ready to join me? Let's get started. Welcome back to Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes podcast. This week's program is dedicated to Journeyman's Distillery in Three Oaks, Michigan, which is on the Michigan border to Indiana and near Chicago. This mammoth-sized century-old factory has been renovated into a stunning distillery, restaurant, wedding venue, and so much more. Let's start with a little background first. Journeyman owner Bill Welter, after earning a 4-year Division I golf program from Missouri State, went to Scotland in 2000 to follow his passion in golf and work in fine restaurants along the way, only to discover the distilleries, the Scotch whiskies, and the friendships he made along the way ultimately shifted his dream to new interests. Moving back to America a year later, Bill started his journey studying and learning about distilleries, the business, the products, until eventually he landed in Chicago. He created his first batch of rye, and he then began planning where and when to open his distillery. An old horse and buggy whip factory in Three Oaks, Michigan, just north of Bill's hometown in Indiana, caught his attention. In 1883, factory owner E.K. Warner founded this historic factory and was a visionary and revolutionary in the way he designed buildings and built his business. The building itself was built with 2-foot thick masonry at the base of the building, plus multiple oak beam supports throughout, which could withstand the test of time. Warner also was a revolutionary in how he cared for his employees and added windows of full length on both sides to add in natural light and ventilations from the huge sewing machines and the oil that came from them. He also gave back to his community he so loved. However, he was very much against alcohol of any kind, and he was quite for prohibition. He may be rolling over in his grave at the thought of his factory now being a distillery, and yet in the same fashion just might be surprised and proud of the entrepreneurship and passion that the Welters have brought into the building and into the community. The renovation of the century-old factory that had been abandoned for 60-plus years to this now stunning distillery has been a transformation of love and hard work. Bill and his wife, Johanna, have created the vision Bill first saw looking at the empty old factory. Along with Johanna's experience and expertise in hospitality, they have masterfully created a brand that represents who they are, full of life, natural and wholesome, welcoming every guest as a friend into their home. Starting small with one distillery to adding a full restaurant, a wedding venue, a store, a second distillery within the same building, and a beautiful 5-bedroom flat. In 10 short years, Bill and Johanna, now with a young family and a business that is highly recognized in Whiskey Advocate magazine as one of the top kosher distillers and award-winning spirits. Growing grain to glass is one hurdle. Growing your crops or obtaining your product that is certified, organic, and kosher is much higher standard. Please welcome my guests today, Bill and Johanna Welters, owners of Journeyman Distillery and Staymaker Restaurant. I want to thank you for inviting me down, and welcome to Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. And our guests here are Bill and Johanna Welter, and they have Journeyman Distillery, which is a phenomenal place. If you haven't gone down here, there's something wrong with you. So, there's so much to cover. I mean, we're going to go over a little bit of everything here. Your spirits are certified, organic, and kosher. You're winning awards across the country, actually earning awards. You've got a lot of work into it. So we'll go through a lot of this. So let's talk first about why was it important for your branding to be the kosher and organic products?
Yeah, I think for us early on, the organic component was one of the easier decisions that we had to make. Out of undoubtedly, we're probably hundreds, if not thousands, of different little decisions. That was a no-brainer for us in the sense that when John and I the two of us first started getting going here, I was actually a vegetarian for 10 years and far healthier eater than I am today. And one of those things where I was trying to focus lifestyle on kind of the healthy eating and organic. So for sure for us, we felt like that was a great way to go. But also, typically, the grains we buy are from oftentimes small family-owned organic farms. It's almost kind of a unique subset in the sense that it's rare to find large organic growers.
Right.
So when we kind of are writing those checks for the grain to make our spirits, the checks were being written to small family-owned farms. And many of them were here in Michigan. Some, we're 2 miles from the Indiana border, so Indiana, of course. And then we're in the Grain Belt, obviously. So there's a lot of great farmers across the Midwest. But additionally, it's kind of a secondary component to that. We've had a farm in the family since the 1940s. My dad now owns that farm in Putnam County, Indiana.
Okay.
And I guess it's been about 5-6 years ago now, maybe even longer, but we had a portion of that farm certified organic and kosher, and we've been growing our own grain there. And additionally, we have 50 acres to the west of our distillery, and we started growing organic grains right here on property for basically a special estate whiskey that we hope to have available sometime down the road.
Great. So you're pulling from farms in Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, too.
Illinois as well, yeah.
The borders here.
Yeah, there's a great farmer, Merle, down in southern Illinois that we've been buying some white corn from, and he's been a great supplier for us. And over the time here, we've had actually a number of local farms go through that certification process and have their local farms certified organic, and we're buying grain locally. So I know there's a New York State study on the impact of distilling on local economies, and there is a significant impact on agriculture. So undoubtedly, Michigan is having a similar impact with distilling and brewing and buying local ingredients. So
I know when I did podcasts for beer podcasters, and they were covering the craft beer breweries and throughout Michigan and whatnot, some of the distilleries or breweries at that time were having trouble finding farms to grow the hops. So are you having trouble finding ones that are organic and kosher?
In Michigan specifically, we would like to buy more grain in the state of Michigan, and there has been a bit of a challenge in finding organic. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, in some ways it's kind of small family-owned organic farms. So as our business has continued to grow and our production has increased, the demand for organic grains is on with that. And so we've kind of had to create a solution of our own and growing our own grain, and obviously then going outside of the state of Michigan. But we're certainly focused on trying to be as much Michigan as possible.
So just for our viewers to know the difference, I mean, what's the difference between being certified organic and being kosher?
Okay, so organic is, we have basically specific requirements, and we're audited every year by MOSA, MOSA. They're the Midwest Organic Certifier that basically monitors our usage. But all of the grains are, pesticide-free, grown with those strict organic rules and regulations, which is essentially just growing grain the old-fashioned way before we had all these chemicals and pesticides. So the organic certification is specific to how the grain is grown. And then the kosher certification is one in which we actually work with a rabbi. And so the rabbi, you get some blessing. But same thing, all the ingredients that go into our processes and production have to be certified organic and certified kosher as well. So there's just, just like the organic component, there's different rules and regulations to meet that kosher certification.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. You started off with one of the first whiskeys that you made was a rye. So did you carry that recipe into your distillery here? Do you have full hands-on as to what goes into all your recipes, the mash bill? Or?
Yeah, I mean, as we were kind of talking offline earlier, when we opened Journeyman in 2010, there were less than 250 distilleries in the United States, and there wasn't really like this burgeoning craft distilling scene. So in many ways, if you wanted to open a distillery, it was either figure it out yourself, or if you had a ton of capital and you're able to steal someone away from Jim Beam or Jack Daniels or Buffalo Trace, then I guess go for it. But I can't imagine too many of those people leaving for any reason, especially for financial reasons. But so, we just kind of started from the ground up. We built those recipes. And at the time, I think we were looking for something that was a traditional, but also something a little bit different in the sense that, Kentucky's making great Kentucky bourbon. Scotland is making wonderful single malts. We knew that if the brand was going to have its own identity and kind of be a multi-generational brand, that we had to create our own identity. We had to create our own recipes, and that we had to have our own unique way of doing things. And at the time, there was a guy, Dave Pickerell, who had been the master distiller down at Maker's Mark, and he left Maker's Mark, and he was doing a ton of consulting around the country, kind of starting 2012, 2013. And some people are saying, well, why haven't you been working with Dave? And I just thought, Dave is great, and he knows a ton about whiskey, and he's helping a lot of people, but we kind of wanted to stand on our own 2 feet and do things our way. So for better or worse, I guess that's what's unique about craft distilling, that I feel like when you come to Journeyman, it's going to be a unique product, unique mash bills, products made from local grains and water, and a process that is unique to ourselves. So I really think that's what craft distilling is and should be all about, because if we're just buying Kentucky bourbon and bottling it under our label, there's nothing unique about them.
No.
And so we feel like it's a great point of differentiation as to why people might buy Journeyman versus something else.
I think you've really proven that point with the ones I've already tasted and whatnot, and you've got so many more that you need to get out there. I'm finding that when I go to my local area, because I'm from the Lansing area, that there's only going to be a couple different varieties of what you offer, and you have a whole lineup here. How can people seek out your spirits? It's not really available online so much, where we can just order it and ship it to wherever. So
I think probably the best thing that could happen would be people would ask for it. I mean, that's the best thing that customers can do for us, is to walk into their favorite liquor store or wherever they shop and say, hey, I tried that Journeyman Not a King, and we'd sure love it if you carry that. And I can tell you what, I mean, we listen to the customer here every day. They're our guiding light, and I think retailers and restaurants around the country have the same approach.
I think I can work on that for you.
Or we also say, please come visit us. So much of our life and how we experience new things would be to just experience it in person as much as possible. So we are in Michigan. We're not, we're only a drive away, right off of 94, and we are open every day. So, welcome enthusiasts or people who are interested just to walk through the doors and come and try a taste of our product.
Well, you started slow that way. People are coming in and asking for a beer. Well, try our whiskeys and start from there. But then your mastermind came into it with the hospitality part and tied everything together. And you guys make a great team. So can you tell a bit more how quickly things expanded from wedding venues to all these events like you put on last night with, of course, it's whips and whiskeys, which was phenomenal. And we'll get into that in a minute. But
yeah, I think for us, our mission really and our focus was making great products, making the spirits here in Three Oaks, and ultimately having guests come in, try our spirits, maybe have a little chat, learn about our product, and maybe walk out with a bottle. I really think that was the focus. But then it was
a few bottles last night.
We appreciate that too. But then it was very quickly realized that food was a necessary component, and especially I think when people are trying products such as spirits. So we very quickly realized that we need to pivot and figure out ways to offer food. So very quickly, we turned our employee kitchenette into a commercial kitchen where we serve a very limited menu. And many of our regulars still remember that, but they thought it was great that we were able to accommodate their requests. And then after that, when we had the opportunity to expand our footprint in this building, we were able to build out a restaurant and ultimately build a very massive restaurant. And I think people in the restaurant industry often ask, did you guys do this before? And reply no. And so it was kind of this just not knowing. The restaurant industry got us to kind of take that big step into creating a 145-seat restaurant right away. And
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the stores are just going to offer a basic bar food. And when you put on an event last night, there was a 5-course meal that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Easily a 5-star.
Well, we have a lot of talented people that
Oh,
are working with an organization, and it's kind of a evolution. As Joanna mentioned, actually, I beg to differ with her. I was quite familiar with the restaurant business, and I knew that I didn't want to be in one. But as she said, almost the first person that walked in the door here said, "What do you have to eat?" And so it kind of started with that. And as she mentioned, it gradually evolved into a restaurant, and that kind of coincided with the expansion of our distilling. So we knew we needed a distillery expansion, and everything we've done here has kind of been tied into hospitality. And that's kind of been our model. Early on, I'd been out to the West Coast, and specifically Oregon. There's some great complexes out there called McMinimans. And that group was, I believe, 2 brothers who started that, and they basically took old, dilapidated buildings, and they renovated them, and they put in this, kind of amazing hospitality, brewing, distilling component. And when I went out there, I just kind of marveled at what they created, bringing back the history, bringing the buildings back to life, telling those stories of the history of those factory buildings, and incorporating it into their brand and kind of this consumer experience that was unlike any that I had seen. And it was something that we wanted to bring to Three Oaks. And we were fortunate enough to find this great old 1800s factory building. We put a lot of work into it. We brought it back to life. We're telling the story of E.K. Warren, who started his business here in the 1800s, making corsets and buggy whips. He was a prohibitionist. He was a philanthropist. He was a guy that did many wonderful things over the years. And ironically, his legacy is living on through our distilling business.
Is that right? And I think you'd be proud too. I think we had the vision like you had the vision when you walked in this place, and you can see it, through and through. Even though at that time it was the windows were out and some of the flooring was missing, and you had rain coming down.
Yeah.
As your dad had described it last night.
It's true.
And you could see the pride beaming through for both of you and what you've created here in really a short amount of time. So you've been actually open for what, 11 years now?
It'll be 10 years open to the public this October, and I think in some ways it feels like it's flown by, like it's just been a couple. In other ways, it feels like it's been 30 years.
Yeah. So what's next?
So I mean, we're kind of embarking on certainly more than we. I think we've certainly bit off more than we can chew with the latest work that we have, and it's kind of all come together somehow on the same timeline. But we have 3 big projects. The first one, starting here in Three Oaks, is we're building a bottling facility. It's basically a 25,000 square foot warehouse, and that's been really a big need of ours for a long time. We're basically using our event space as overflow for production. And then also we're going to build, with the help of a company out in Kentucky called Busick. So they're building all of Kentucky's rick houses.
Oh, wow.
And so we're going to build a 7,000 barrel rick house on the property here. And so it'll be Michigan's first and only Kentucky style rick house.
Oh, really?
So I think, we've tried to incorporate hospitality and everything we're doing. So that rick house is actually, we're building it with a tasting room on the inside of it.
Okay.
And then there's actually going to be an outdoor wedding component that kind of,
Of course.
yeah,
Of course.
revolves around that. So we're extremely excited. I think it's going to be something to see. And today you'd have to drive down to Kentucky to see something like that. By fall, we hope to have that rick house up, and people, I think, will really marvel at it.
Which way will you be doing the rack house? Where the barrels lay down, or will they be upright? Or so many different
no, it'll be exactly like the Kentucky ones with wood ricks, and then the barrels just kind of roll down down the storage facilities, and then people will be able to come in and see the barrels aging.
And for me, aesthetically, I mean, I would love to have this event where you're walking through, you and your guests are walking through the brick house, surrounded by these barrels all around, and then walking into your event. That's the experience you want to create.
Share all amongst you. So
that's right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. No, you already have that vision. You already see that, so it's definitely going to happen. That's amazing. You've got so much going on. You started small, and it's gotten to be huge. You've got great events going on. How can people find out more about your events? You've got the website with JourneymanDistillery.com. Is there a newsletter they can sign up to get?
Absolutely. All that information is updated and current and on our website. With that, you can sign up for our newsletter, which will have the latest events, and such as the chef's dinner that we did last night. Yes. Also, we love supporting our local market and the vendors and artisans that live here. So we do have artisan markets twice a year. That is quite the event. That is not to be missed.
Right.
Yes, that would be the best way.
Actually, last night you introduced a new spirit. Can you tell our viewers about that? Because it was really good.
Yeah. So we've had this event, and we appreciate you attending last night.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's called Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey, and I'm not sure if the whiskey came first or the event, honestly, but anyway, we release a product called Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey, and it's 100% wheat, and it's at cast strength.
Okay.
So it's each batch is a little different with the proof, because we dump it out of barrel, and then whatever the proof is that comes out of the barrel is what we bottle it at.
Which is why it's called a cast strength?
Yep. Yeah. The event is meant to celebrate the history of the building, corsets, and buggy whips. And then, of course, the fact that we're now making whiskey here. And so Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey, we have the event, but we also put on the special release. This year's release is the Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey finished in Virtue cider barrels.
You can't say that after you've had a few whiskeys.
Say it a few times. So Virtue cider is just an hour north of us. They're making some of not only Michigan's best cider, but some of the best cider in the country. And so we were lucky enough to kind of procure a couple of their spent cider barrels. So the Corsets rest in the cider barrels for 6 months. And so you'll pick up kind of a unique apple flavor from.
Yes.
So it's it's our Corsets whiskey, and with kind of just a little hint of apple.
Yeah, you get the little bit of fruity smell to it, the first whiff of it, and aroma and whatnot. And then you get a little more of the spice when you drink it.
Yeah.
And you get that little bit of fruit on the back end. It was very lovely. I liked it.
Yeah. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think Joanna and I certainly, it's been a wild ride for us. It's been a real journey. I think the business has kind of taken on a life of its own, and we have so many wonderful people working within the organization, kind of leading many different aspects of it. And I think Joanna and I are just trying to guide it in the right direction. But we're excited about the Rick House. We have a project that we're also working on in Valparaiso, Indiana, as a second production facility where we'll also have some of the similar hospitality components that we have here.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to, and hopefully you'll continue to see Journeyman at your local retailer and restaurant. Yeah.
I do want to add too that you are also giving back. You've got a program that helps children go to camps in the southwest Michigan area here. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works and how people can donate online?
Sure. It's called Isla's Barrel. So when our daughter Isla was born, we put away a barrel whiskey, maybe with as an insurance, maybe for the future. That's right. Or at least a great story, right? When she turns 21, on this great whiskey for her. So with that, we decided that we would start our nonprofit. So Isla's Barrel sponsors local children, especially in Three Oaks, Michigan, to a educational and summer experience. So specifically, currently we are partnering with the YMCA, Camp Eberhart in Three Rivers, Michigan, and also with the Dunes Learning Center in Porter, Indiana, where we would sponsor kids to go to camp for a week experience there. So with that, and there are two ways that you can help us raise funds. One is to go to our website. We will take donations of any size, always appreciated. But the other way is to attend our Barrel Age Brew Fest. So every year, we are hosting a Barrel Age Brew Fest where we partner with the regional brewers where they're aging their beer in our barrels. Okay. And we have a fun competition seeing who has the best. So that festival does happen. It's a Saturday event in October of every year. So keep an eye out for the event.
Well, thank you so much. This has been an incredible couple of days. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a pleasure meeting you. And I'm certainly going to be back for some more events and some more whiskey as well. But with that, I think it's a wrap.
Cheers.
You can get more information on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank Bill and Johanna for their time today and for the hospitality and generosity. Please go to journeymandistillery.com. Go to the tab at the top. It says Events and Tours. It drops down and you'll see upcoming events, distillery tours, and explore the area. Go check them out. You'll love all their products. As soon as you walk in, the hospitality, everyone greets you in like your family. It's a complete experience. You'll really love it. Thank you again for listening to Whiskey Wishes and BourbonDishes.com. Cheers. Hey, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like more information on today's episode, you can go to my website, whiskeywishes&bourbondishes.com, or click on the link below. Subscribe now for the next episode. I have a great lineup of interviews with distillery owners, some fabulous chefs, and some bartenders who are willing to share their secrets to some great bourbon cocktails. See you next time on Whiskey Wishes and Bourbon Dishes. Cheers!